Chairman Ratcliffe, I also would like to extend my thoughts and prayers to the victims and family members of the horrifying tragedy in Las Vegas. I'm hopeful that as Americans we can come together and prevent such violence from happening in the future. I'm pleased to be here at this important hearing today with our distinguished guest here at this hearing. America's national security is it's threatened by Islamist terrorist tyrannical regimes, building and proliferating weapons of mass destruction, human traffickers, transnational gang members like MS-13 who stream across our border. These threats are well known, and we need to do everything we can to stop them as we see them coming. However, we also find ourselves in the crosshairs of invisible attacks and sustained cyber war from nation states and other hackers. And as we become more and more reliant on computers and smartphones in both our personal and professional lives, everyone is a potential target, and sadly, many of us have already been victims. Over the past few years, we've seen many successful large-scale cyber attacks take place. In early September, hackers were able to breach Equifax, a credit reporting agency, gaining access to sensitive information on as many as 143 million people. In 2016, we know that Russia tried to undermine our electoral system and democratic process. And in 2015, we learned that China stole over 20 million security clearances, including mine, and probably some here at this dais. These kinds of violations are simply unacceptable. I'm proud to say that over the last few years, this committee, the Committee on Homeland Security, has recognized these threats and has led the charge in the Congress to strengthen the defense of our nation's networks. In 2014, we enacted several important bills that empowered DHS to bolster its workforce, codified DHS's Cyber Center, and updated FISMA for the first time in 12 years. A year later, the Cybersecurity Act became law, which enhances information sharing and makes DHS the lead conduit for cyber threat indicators and defensive measures within the federal government. While information sharing has come a long way, the WannaCry ransomware attack recently illustrated just how important and beneficial these relationships are. Just last week, Rob Joyce, the cybersecurity coordinator at the White House, noted that we need to find a way to provide the private sector with more expansive access to cyber threat information in a controlled setting, something I believe we need to strengthen. Moreover, issues relating to the sharing of classified information with the private sector, like accrediting SCIF space, granting security clearances to key personnel, and enabling consistent two-way communications are issues we are looking at closely. In other words, we've made great progress in the way indicators are shared, but I want to examine if we can do more regarding the overall sharing of classified information. Earlier this year, I was pleased to see President Trump issue an executive order to strengthen the cybersecurity of federal networks and critical infrastructure. Going forward, I'm hopeful that the House can advance legislation that I've introduced to elevate MPPD as a standalone agency and better support the cybersecurity mission at DHS. This month is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month, a time to learn more about these threats and offer ideas on how we can best secure ourselves against these growing threats. While we've had some success on this issue, we must do more. Our cyber enemies, including terrorists, are always evolving, looking for new ways to carry out their next attack. And fortunately, this is an issue that I believe transcends party lines. It's not a Republican or Democrat issue. So let's work together to make our cybersecurity strong and keep the American people safe. Again, I'd like to thank the witnesses for being here today, and thank you for your service. And a very important component of the department that often, as I mentioned in my opening, we focus a lot on counterterrorism and the border and other things, but I consider this mission that the department has to be one of the most important that this nation faces. So I look forward to the conversation about how Congress and the executive branch can work together and how we can work with leaders in the private sector to enhance the nation's cybersecurity. So with that, I'd like to yield back to the chairman, and if I may, submit my questions for the record.